So we have been talking about our supportive leaders, our dominant leaders, and our influential leaders. And now it is time to talk about our conscientious leaders. Those leaders who value and prioritize accuracy and data and policy over everything else. Hi, my name is Tammy Dunnett, Leadership and Communication Skills Coach, and we are in the fourth of a four-part series talking about how to coach your leaders for greatness. And in today's video, we're talking about the high C, balancing precision with progress. You see, our high C leaders, while they value data, policy, and procedure, they can also take time and get stuck in analysis paralysis and delay progress. Now, we're talking about those leaders in your organization that set the gold standard for precision and excellence. And you likely know who they are. They're the ones that thrive on structure. And they hold themselves to a high standard and expect others to reach it as well. You would likely recognize them because they're the ones in your organization that you have commented about their meticulous attention to data, to detail, to problem solving, and making sure everything's accurate. And while all of those skills and traits are admirable and necessary in the workplace, high C leaders also have blind spots. Knowing your leadership style is critical to advancing the effectiveness and the range of influence that you have among other personality types. We know that high C leaders are approximately 30% of the employment workforce, which means you're going to come up against the high S's, the high D's, and the high I's as well. Now, while you might relish in your own objectivity and consistency around being precise and providing accurate information as a high C leader, you also face distinct challenges that other leadership styles would not face to the same degree that you do. Now, it's not just a preference for high C leaders to prioritize data, it's a need for them. And on the opposite side of that need is a fear of being wrong, not being accurate. That's what leads them down this path of obsessing over the data. That fear is underlying their need. Their drive to make sure everything is flawless, perfect, is exactly what's behind some of the challenges with a high C leader. On one side, it's a strength, and on the other side, like every other value that we hold, it can also be a barrier. So while they're focused on precision, they're also slowing things down. They've checked that report once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. They just have a hard time letting it go because they're worried there's going to be something else in there somebody might see. And this obsession, this preference, this hesitation slows progression and can be a frustration in a fast-moving environment. But all is not lost. I'm going to give you some tips today on how to coach that high C leader to balance precision with progress. Number 1, help your high C leader see that perfection is actually the opposite of progress. Some would say perfection is the enemy of progress. The first tool you can use to help coach your high C leader is to reframe perfection. And here's 3 ways you can do that. Number 1 is to set realistic deadlines to help them not fall into that obsessive reviewing and refinement of projects. Number 2, define what good enough is. In order for them to be successful, they need to know what the outcome needs to meet. And so if there's a conversation around what good enough looks like and perfect looks like, remember, perfect is the enemy of progress. Good enough will be a standard that they can reach and start to detach themselves from perfection in order to know that they are successful. And number 3, employ a decision framework, a decision-making framework to help them make decisions on prioritizing their time and when things can be submitted versus reviewed. This type of coaching will help them to build their confidence in good enough, as well as their decision-making within a time frame. Now, the second area is we know high C leaders are driven by the fear of being wrong. Making a mistake, being criticized are struggles that high C leaders have. They internalize it. And so when it comes to helping them create an environment where they can learn, mistakes need to be okay. So let's talk about how we can do that for our high C leaders. When there is an error or a mistake that you notice in a product or the quality of work that is being produced, rather than frame it as a mistake, frame it as a learning opportunity. Set the stage that growth and learning is normal and expected, and that not everybody knows everything. There's still room for everyone to grow. Along with that, when you are providing feedback, shape it as that tool for refinement and not criticism. Use a tool that is humanized. There's many great feedback tools out there. My only caveat around many of them is they go right to the heart of it and it's very one directional. Make this a conversation and humanize your feedback as refinement. And then after projects are completed, create a culture of reflection. Carve out that space where it becomes natural to reflect on the work and the progress that was made, the tools that were used to help them be successful, the patterns of thinking or behavior that maybe delayed them. Make reflection a normal part of business. When you implement these 3 strategies, the focus then becomes less on perfection and more on continuous improvement, growth, development. Now, the third area where your high C leaders may need some coaching is around that independence versus team. High C leaders prefer independence. Why? Because there's less people to mess things up. The fewer the ideas and the opinions, the more they can control the outcome of the project. And while this can make them incredibly sufficient, it can also create challenges when it comes to collaborating with others. High C leaders often struggle with delegation because they just don't think the other people will get the job done right. They prefer to do it themselves to make sure it's done correctly. So how do we coach our high C leaders to delegate and build their team? I've got a few ideas for you. Help your high C leader to see and recognize that the team's success is a reflection of the leader's success. So this means delegation and leveling their team's skills and opportunities is critical. Now we know that they're going to have a hard time with this, so here's a few ideas. Number 1 is help your high C leader get clear on what they're delegating, what their expectations are, what would excite them about this project and what would not excite them about this project, so that when they hand it over to the person they're going to hand it over to, there are no questions about the behaviors, the outcomes that need to be achieved, the support that is there for them, what to do when things don't go the way they need them to go. Very detailed conversations around what information should be shared. And along with that, let your high C leaders know that checking in is a normal part of leading. We're not just letting go of something and we're not going to see it again until 3 weeks when it's due, but create some sort of cadence around that follow-up that is quality follow-up. Not just, hey, how's it going? But let's check in on points 1, 2, and 3. Where are we at with those things? Coaching your high C leader to step out of isolation and to trust their team's abilities to perform will be critical if you want to help that high C leader balance precision with progress. Teams are incredibly important in innovation, creativity, productivity, and your high C leader will benefit from learning how to harness their team's energy. Now, if you think you might be a high C leader, let me know in the comments below. And if you're wondering if you're a dominant, supportive, influential, or conscientious leader, naturally, there's a ton of free assessments you can get online, disc-free assessments. But if you're looking for a more in-depth report that's going to give you really personal information about you, connect with me. We'll hook you up with a report. We'll do a debrief and we'll get you the information you need so that you can start to level up your leadership today and increase your impact and influence. Understanding who you are as a leader fundamentally and where your energy needs to be put in order for growth will accelerate your progression in the organization and in your career. My name is Tammy Dunnett, a leadership coach and communication skills trainer. If you're looking for a group environment where you can learn some of these skills around leading through change, feedback, then check out Peer Power. It's in the description box below. Peer Power is a group coaching session. Every month we tackle a new topic. We dive into some theory, some skills, some practice, and then you go and implement and you come back and we hot seat those experiences so we can magnify the learning and tailor it to your situation. I'd love to have you in there. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and if you haven't seen the high S, high I, and high D, those videos are here for you as well. Go check them all out. There are tips to help you maximize the efforts of your leaders already and coach them to even more greatness in every one of those videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon.